Ann Coulter, how you doing?
Good to talk to you, Mark Simone. How are you?
Good. How much of that impeachment were you able to actually watch?
Well, I was going to not watch any of it because I wanted to actually move on from Trump. And about an hour into it, I realized I was getting the shakes and I had to go watch. So I saw Raskin and then I did.
Let's take Raskin first. This overacting, this fighting back the tears. What did you make of that?
Well, funny you should ask, Mark Simone. That was my response to that will be featured in tonight's column. Although it'll probably be today's column. I think it'll go up early.
Yeah, I was not.
No, it's embarrassing. It's a perfect example of what I keep saying. And in fact, the entire theme of my last book. Democrats, you've got a good case. You don't have to juice it up. You don't have to make things up and force the rest of us into defending Trump. But I'm sorry, just because he is an immature child doesn't mean you get the law.
Hey.
Oh, you're so cute.
You know who was great is this Bruce Castor. The fact that every network, NBC, CBS, and ABC, they preempted all programming for this. This was the perfect response. Put this guy on, let him ramble about nothing for 3 hours. That'll teach them to do network coverage.
No, that's an excellent point. Yeah, I was having a little trouble following what his point was. I don't compared to Jamie Raskin telling us all about this. This is a cable news host disease that they're just dying to tell us all about their personal lives, as if they're, Sharon Stone, and we're sitting on the edges of our chairs about their personal beauty routines or something. But I don't think I needed to know about his daughter eloping or his, I think the other daughter being an algebra teacher. But these, like how many cable news hosts, these guys just love to talk about themselves. This is an impeachment trial.
Yeah, but that's why Bruce Castor was brilliant. He got up there and he said, "You want to play that game? Here's 4 hours of stories about my childhood."
That's an excellent summary.
Well, if you ran NBC and you had preempted all your programming to put this on, about 40 minutes into this guy, wouldn't you be calling somebody and go, "What the hell are we going to do? Who's going to watch?"
Right, put in juggler in the lower third.
I mean, Trump should threaten them. You, any day you impeach me, he's going to come on and talk for 2 hours.
Well, the story is Trump was not very happy with his legal representation. But the story also is, and who knows, that Trump's first round of lawyers quit last weekend because he wanted the argument to be that the election was stolen, which isn't a very good point in his favor. That's what the protests were about. You don't.
Yeah. But anytime I read people close to Trump, I guarantee you, people close to Trump don't talk to the New York Times. The Washington Post doesn't hang out with anybody close to Trump. It's always like, the swamp people, like the guy that wrote Anonymous. And
sometimes I think you're right, but we do know that some of the people close to Trump, Jared, another close White House advisor. I mean, they were caught in that book, the Michael Wolff book. What was it? Fire and Fury. Yeah. And that was at the beginning of the White House where nobody knew who he was, and he just, sat in the Oval Office, sat in the reception area, and wrote everything down. That was a not 100% accurate, but a shockingly accurate book describing the Trump White House. And he was sitting in one top White House aide's office, and somehow, I know, her computer was being fixed, and the computer guy fiddling on it sees all of her texts to, like, the New York Times, Politico, So yeah, there are a few in his orbit. The important thing for Trump wasn't in making hiring decisions, wasn't skill, knowledge, ability, political acuity. It was how much they would suck up to him, and are they friends with Jared?
Oh, here we go again. Now, you got to remember.
Yes.
When you talk about the best and the brightest, George Shultz or whoever, they're not going to come work for Donald Trump. He couldn't get those people to come work for him.
Oh, he could have gotten plenty of people. I mean, off the top of my head. How about Chris Kobach? He did get Bill Barr. I'll give him Bill Barr. That's the only.
But he turned out to be not so good. You know who's got the real problem now? Who's in the most difficulty right now? Jared and Ivanka, because they want to be part of the swamp. They want to be accepted into the elite.
Yep.
What? They have no chance. Where do they think? How do they think they're going to pull that off?
No, you're absolutely right. The entire objective of their 4 years working for Daddy was to be welcomed back into New York society. So if you're ever wondering, why wasn't the MAGA agenda affected? Well, because the guy running the presidency, his job was to block the MAGA agenda. And I think you're right. I mean, it's not exactly swamp in New York society. I don't think Javanka ever went to any really good parties anyway. But whether it's Miami or New York, no, there's not going to be a welcoming committee for them, other than perhaps the New York DA's office.
Hey, what's going to happen with the media now? This is the most fake news we've ever. For instance, Biden cancels the pipeline, 10,000 people out of work. If this were anybody else, wouldn't the reporters be they do interviews with the workers put out of work, put them on the air? Notice there's no coverage of this.
No, the media is really bad. I was hoping it would, and I don't know, maybe there's still time for this. But knowing some members of the fake media, I've asked some at least smart and honest reporter friends of mine about various outrages. I mean, the big one big recent one, let me put it that way, was the complete ban on information about Hunter Biden before the election. Fake news, this isn't true. Fake news, this is just some crank at a computer store. And then after the election, we find out, oh yeah, it's all true. The FBI has an investigation going on. That should be very embarrassing for any entity that refers to itself as a news gathering source. It wasn't just that they weren't reporting it; they were censoring it. Deleting tweets that mentioned this investigation or believed investigation. And at least some of my reporter friends said, no, it was all about Trump. Once he's gone, we'll go back to normal. We'll be honorable again. I don't think we've really seen it yet. But I do think that is a huge problem for democracy. I mean, for people to be self-governing, you do need to know what the truth is, and we can't count on the media. We can count on alternative sites, Breitbart, Daily Caller, Twitter, your Twitter feed. It's out there. But all of those news sources are terrified of being deplatformed. If only Trump had done something about that.
Here she goes again. Now, you saw that Time magazine piece about this cabal of big tech, fake news, unions, all got together to tilt the election. How do we know that's not going to be around forever, that group? I mean, how do we undo that?
Well, the Twitter headlines on the article were not quite what it was saying. It was, at least this is what the article was saying. I'm not saying this is what the truth is, as opposed to what you just said, was that it was a group of people to ensure the integrity of the election, that people would get their ballots, and that mail-in ballots wouldn't be prevented from being sent in. I mean, I think there are two major problems about elections going forward. One is about 70% of Republicans, and I'm one of them, think there was massive cheating in this election. No, I don't think it was enough. It would be an awful lot to change the results of the election. That's one problem. Number two, the mail-in ballots. Not only the fraud associated with it, but it's a weird way to do an election, to just blanket the nation with these ballots. So I do think there should be, and no one seems to be talking about this, a genuinely nonpartisan commission. Spend 2 years if you want. They did it with Florida. Examine the results of the election, and I think Republicans' number one goal going forward should be to end mail-in ballots. You got 24
I agree.
hours.
I hate to say it, we're out of time, but everybody go to AnnCoulter.com. New column is coming out. Follow Ann Coulter on Twitter. Get all of her books. I started reading Demonic again. It really applies today, but just go
That's
to
a great book.
Yeah, Demonic. But go to AnnCoulter.com. Ann Coulter, thanks for being with us.
Good to talk to you, Mark Simone. Bye-bye.
All right, take care.